Welcome to day 2 of Tame the Beast. And so we are actually going to get right in it today. And we are going to start with recapping yesterday. There we go. Okay, so capacity reflection, literally reflecting on our current capacity. Again, like I said yesterday, this is not about a judgment. It's not to have some sort of shame or guilt or like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so bad. Or it doesn't matter. We're dealing with facts. This is where we're starting. That way, the more progress we make, we can come back and be like, holy crap, like, look how far I've come. Look at how I used to be. Like, wow. So it's just dealing with facts. We're leaving the emotion at the door for this, and we're literally just dealing with facts here. So, how often did you get triggered? And if you think back, if you kept track yesterday, and nothing means anything, just taking notes so we have something to compare to later. We're creating a baseline, a starting point, right? And then the bigger one of like, yes, knowing how often you get triggered, because the more you get triggered throughout the day, I'm going to say the less emotional control you currently have. Those emotions keep spewing up and spewing up and spewing up. But the bigger one is, are there any patterns there? Is it that same thing? Like, are you constantly triggered because you work from home? So does your husband, and he's always getting in your space. I actually have one of my clients, and that is kind of their scenario where he doesn't really understand what she does. So he's constantly interrupting her, coming in her workspace and interrupting her flow. And that is just a chronic trigger. So it's not like she's really terrible at being triggered all day and has this poor emotional control. It's the same pattern that just needs to be addressed one time. One thing that needs to be addressed, and that whole pattern can be shut down. Right? So this is why it's important to see not just how often I get pissed off and angry, but are there patterns there? Is there a specific person, a specific event, a thing around? Trying to sort that all out, right? This is all creating that awareness so we know where, what to change. I don't want to say fix, but lack of better words, where we need to really put our attention to, right? And feel free to share if you're not comfortable sharing, on the camera or anything. You can just type it in the comments. If you're watching on the replay, you can type it in the comments there if you're bold enough to share. And the more we can acknowledge just factually, just this is what it is, then the further along we'll get in a faster period of time. Okay. This is where the good stuff. I love this one. This can make oodles and oodles and oodles of difference in your life, especially for those of us borderline workaholics. Again, we are high achievers. We have goals. We have a lot of ambition. There's a lot of stuff to do, but this can really catch us up in it, where we kind of lose sight of our real, true priorities. Now, we want to take a step back, and for people looking at you, people who don't necessarily know you super well, don't know the inner workings of you, and haven't had these deep conversations with you, just a coworker or maybe a neighbor or like an acquaintance type thing, even like a friend who's not super close and you're dishing your deep secrets to, someone who doesn't really know you that well, had to guess what your priorities are. And this is a big one, because this comes back to, we've all heard this saying, the picture's worth 1,000 words type thing. Actions, words are meaningless without the actions. Our actions form the picture of our life, of what our priorities are. Words are useless. Like, words can be empty and useless without the actions to back them. So just saying, oh, my priorities are this, this, and this, but then your actions are showing something else, This is where a lot of us get caught up. And what I mean really is, you think about the parents, whether this is you or not, the workaholic parent, you're working 10, 12 hours a day. And I know a lot of businesses, especially like if you're in the food industry, a lot of businesses do require this. Brand new businesses where you have to order the inventory, stock the shelves, get the system set up, all of these things, hire the people. There is a ton of work going into new businesses. Even setting up all the automations and stuff, it still surprises me how long getting these things really set can take. So you're working 10, 12 hours a day, and most people will say, well, what are you working so hard for? Well, my family. I'm doing this for my kids. I want to give them the life I never had. Like, we've all heard this stuff before, right? But for people who don't really know that person, just looking outside in, what are their priorities? Oh, their business. Maybe we assume it's money. Do we ever see them with their family ever? Do we ever see them with the kids ever? Do we ever see them having this time freedom they speak of? So the actions of that person show that their top priority is their business. But how we get it twisted is well, yeah, my priority right now is my business, but it's for my family. And this is where we really, really want to deep dive into it, because it can be really easy. We've all seen these movies, these Christmas movies, the Hallmark shows, whatever it might be. It's a tale as old as time, right? The workaholic parent gets caught up, whether it's opening the business, all of a sudden it's growing the business, all of a sudden it's expanding more, yada yada. 10 years later, they're still the workaholic. They're still missing all the football games, dance recitals, Christmas pageants. They're still not there with their family because they're still building the business, but it's for the family, for the kids. Meanwhile, the family hasn't seen the workaholic parent in like a decade. They're home when everyone's going to bed, or maybe for dinner, and then they're off, on their phone, on their emails, whatever it might be. They're really quite absent from the family life. And so everything becomes disconnected. Your kids start hating you as the workaholic parent because you're never home. They think we start trying to cope by buying gifts and stuff like that. But where are our actions? Are all of our actions, are that person's actions are around the business? None of it's in the family. So at the end of the day, the reality, the fact is, the priority is not the family, because the family's been neglected for the business. The top priority is the business. So this is where it's going to hit home. It might feel like a punch in the gut if you're the person who's working the 10, 12-hour days. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just really getting these to top of mind, where we still need to get the family. If family is your top priority, it needs to be shown. They need to be able to know it. Because just saying, I do this for you because I love you. Okay, do I feel love? Do I see you? Do I whatever? Let's just say, again, going off the Christmas movies, the workaholic dad that tries to buy love with gifts. Well, that just creates a lot of mental health issues for that child. That child still hates you anyway, and gifts become almost a negative thing for them in their adult life, because it's compensation for the love that they truly wanted, that they felt they never had, right? So this is where it really is deep diving, because at the end of the day, we can trick ourselves into anything, any excuse into why. We can justify just about anything. But again, if we're justifying something, it's because we know it's not really right. Right? So we're going to take a minute, since we're like talking about this right now. Priority exposure exercise. And really just take a minute and write down, who gets my calmest energy? Who gets the best version of you? For a lot of us, that's our workmates. Maybe it's a boss, clients, people that we don't love, really, right? Who gets the best of us? The outside world. Who gets our calmest energy? Oh, I went all fussy. I hate when that happens. Right? So really be honest. Remember, guys, if you're not being honest, this work is for nothing. You have to be honest. If you're not, you can't make the changes that need to be made because you don't know what they are because you're not being honest. So if you're just going to kind of BS yourself, then unfortunately you're not ready for this. Come back at a later date when you can be honest. Even if it hurts, it's important to be honest. And if you think about, like, for me, even 10 years ago, this was a big eye opener for me, because who got my calmest energy? My clients. Who got the best versions of me? My clients. Because those were the ones, the people I need to impress, be my best so they could come back and pay me more money and still be my clients. So they got the best of me. Who gets my leftovers? Who gets the worst of me? My boyfriend, my dogs, my family got my leftovers. What was the leftover energy, the leftover mental capacity when I was done with work, giving my clients everything I had? They got what was left in the evening. And the worst of me, that was completely my boyfriend. I was more lenient on my dogs because, like kids, they're just little ones. They don't always know what they're doing. They're not human adults making cognitive decisions like we do. So they definitely got my leftovers, but they did not get the worst of me. The worst of me was for my boyfriend, which is funny because that's the person who should get the best of me. That's my partner in life. And he gets the worst of me. Like, right? Where are my priorities? How did my actions match my priorities? Well, clearly my priorities were my work, money, and my clients, because they got my best. And then my leftovers, the worst of me, the crap, the snapping, the everything else was for my boyfriend. That doesn't say I love you. That doesn't say you're number one in my life. That's like, oh, thanks for being here to help me around the house. Like, as I'm yelling at him and ignoring him, giving them the silent treatment. Like, right? So this is a lot of food for thought. This is a lot of deep diving, and it really is. And I'm not saying clients don't deserve the best of you. I'm not saying that at all. But it's about balancing those scales. Everyone gets the best of you. Where you become, that's the point of increasing our capacity, right? Because we have the space to hold everything. So there really is no worst best. We're just us all the time, because things get thrown at us, and we can, maybe we take a minute, maybe we need to take a couple breaths, like, hold on, but we can regroup, shake it off. Or at least if we do have a little, and I do this to this day, have a little attitude, a little snappy snap on my boyfriend, and he'll turn to me and he'll be like, I don't believe I deserve that. And I have the capacity to step back, sometimes literally, and think. And I quite often, I mean, actually, 99.9% of the time, he's right. And I will say, you're right. I'm sorry. That was not about you. My attitude, this, and this. Take a breath. And then I say what I actually meant to say in the proper tone of voice with the proper amount of love afterwards, redirecting everything, right? Because he does not deserve the worst of me. So yeah, take those moments, really deep dive, really think about it. Right. And if you're watching the replay, of course, if you need more time, pause it, come back when you're done. And really, at the end of the day, the biggest thing, do my actions match my priority? When people look at my life, are they just going to say, number one, yep, her priorities is her family. Her boyfriend and her dogs are top number one on her list, right? My business might be number two. That's fine. Maybe I'm included in my family number one. Maybe I come family number, like I'm number one, family number two, business number three. That could be. But who are those? Who's the top tiers, right? And you should definitely be up in there with it. But so we need to remember, low capacity creates the urgency, or means that the urgency will win over importance every time. If we don't have the capacity to handle what's going on, the problems that come up, everything's urgent, everything's stressful. Oh my God, okay, I just have to deal with kids. Leave me alone. You know, the family comes in, the kids come in, you're like, I don't have time. Leave me alone. Hold on. We snap on them, we give them our worst because we don't have the capacity to deal with it. So the urgency wins over the importance. The family is always more important. Money can be made everywhere. Well, this is most of us. This is generically speaking, right? If you are single and you literally do not have a family, maybe you have parents, maybe your business is number one, but this is just really what's important in your life. So for me, my family is, and I'll just always use that as a generic, they're the important people, they're the priorities, right? And that's how our relationship erodes. So if you don't have, and this could be like your best friend, your regular friends, whoever it is, if you're always working and you never have time and it's been 6 months since you've seen your friends, they're feeling pretty unimportant to you, right? And that's where the relationship erodes. All of a sudden, the friendships are kind of stagnant and probably gone. This is where a lot of divorce happens. A lot of women, high achieving women, whether you're the CEO, the business owners, whatever it is, the relationships erode and divorce comes because we get so hyper focused on the business, which is important, of course, but we have zero capacity left for the husband, the wife, the family, whoever's at home. And eventually we just get divorced. And usually in that divorce, that she will hear something to the extent of, your business, you're always working, you never have time for me, I'm not important to you, blah, blah, blah. This is why, right? We need the capacity to literally have it all. I don't believe we should have to sacrifice our business and our work to be able to have the family. We need to build the plate big enough to hold it all. And I really believe that we can. So we're going to, like I said, there's a lot, we're doing a lot of things in this masterclass event, whatever you want to call it, because this is where we get the real ahas, the real moments of actually thinking, pondering, writing, doing, not just taking notes, right? So like yesterday, or list out for yesterday, where did all your time go? If you think back to yesterday, where did all your time go? Where's all of your emotional energy? You know, did you save up everything again for the work, for the clients, the coworkers, and give them all your best? Were you sitting there leaking it out, you know, having your hamster wheel brain going, just leaking out things all day? Were you, you know, spewing the emotions, taking over, and you're emotionally spewing on everyone? Where did all your energy go? And if you think back, those are those things, like you deal with something and afterwards you're like, oh God, like that, it feels like it took it out of you, right? Where did your time go? Where did you spend the majority of your time? And where did your emotional energy, where did you put you into, right? If you spent zero energy and you just snapped on your family and got irritated with them and brushed them aside, not a lot of energy went there, right? So really write that down, think about that. And then the things that don't jive, the misalignment of where your priorities, what you truly have deep down in your heart are your priorities. Like I said, I will use always the family as the priority for me because that is my priority. If all your time went to business, and I do struggle with this sometimes too, because I know my dogs, you know, they need regular walks, they need attention, they are living creatures, they need love and attention, you know, they need to just be pet, just to be pet, to know that they're loved. And so if I'm sitting here on my laptop working all day long, and my doodles are very needy, FYI, very needy, and she comes over and she wants love, and I'm like, I'm busy, get away. I am definitely not prioritizing her. I'm definitely not showing her I love her. So what I've come to do is, I don't need to step away from my laptop necessarily. I can just reach a hand down and casually pet her and just have a little flow of energy, like look her in the eyes, say something nice, pet her, and she's getting attention. I'm not being mad. I'm not being irritated. Maybe I pause what I'm doing because I do believe quality over quantity. And I give her some focused attention for even 5 or 10 minutes. Just, yes, you're loved. You are a priority. And then usually she gets distracted by, oh, hey, is there a cat in the backyard? Or look, my ball. And then she feels loved and she's good again. Right? It didn't take that much out of me, but when she needed it, I could give it to her. And then all these little 10 minutes really add up throughout the day. And it didn't really take anything away from my work because we do need breaks in our work anyway throughout the day. Right? So really just finding where we're leaking out that energy, where we're stewing. This kind of all also goes back to that. Where are we being irritated, snapping? Where's all that going? And then your top drains. This is a big one. If you're like me, overthinking is huge. I should have just put that at the top of the list. I am a chronic overthinker, and I think that's from being overwhelmed, having high stress, high anxiety for so long. We live in our heads, we have the hamster wheels, and we've just become accustomed to always having this going. Overgiving, people pleasing behaviors. This is huge. This is the classic someone asks something of you and deep down it's like, no, don't do it, you don't have time, stop. And then you're like, sure. And then in the back of your mind you're like, shit. But you couldn't help yourself, couldn't stop yourself. You can, of course, but it feels like because you have high people pleasing, so you overgive. You do too much for other people when you don't have time for that. And we need to take care of ourselves and our business first before we go taking care of other people's business, right? Control habits. What do you try and control that's not yours to control? This is huge. Those of us, if you've ever had high stress, high anxiety, been overwhelmed, which most of us high achievers have, again, we have goals. We throw everything on the plate. We try and do it all. Like we usually have high stress, high anxiety before we learn to get a grip on it. And with that comes severe control issues because we feel overwhelmed and drowning all the time. And I always think of it like, we're in the wild rapids down a river and we're just being bobbled about and we're just reaching for a branch, reaching for a rock, something to keep our heads above water. And all of that reaching out is trying to control everything around us because everything feels so out of control that we're just reaching for anything to get a feeling of resemblance of control. The problem is the only thing we can control is ourselves and our actions. But again, we get everything super twisted. So instead of, trying to look inward and being like, all right, what can I control? What are things I can actively do? We try and control everything else. We try and make the kids do that, make the husband do that, make the work do this, make that happen. And we get all stressed out when it doesn't. And it's like we think if we stress hard enough or we have high enough anxiety, we can just will this thing to happen. And obviously, that's just not the case. You can't control what your neighbor says or does. You can't control how other people vote. You can't control your coworker does their job or not. The client, I struggled with this recently. One of my clients not doing the work that they should have been doing. So they just weren't making the progress they should have. And it started to really bother me. And then I had to realize, whoa, it's not my job to make her. It's my job to guide her, support her, and help her the tools she needs. She has to actually do the work. I can't make her. And if she's not going to do it, that's on her. That's her stagnant progress. And there's nothing I can do about that. Right? So these control habits and guilt-driven decisions, which does tend to play into overthinking and overgiving, that people pleasing. What do people think of me? Oh my God, blah, blah. Like, so there's obviously a lot more, but think about all those. A lot of these are quite toxic, but all those things that aren't really yours that are just sucking the energy out of you. And then, yeah, write them all down. So I hope with all this, I had to throw this little slide in there. You're starting to see how emotional control with the right priorities is really a key component in being calm in every situation. Because when we have that unhappy home life, when our priorities are misaligned, that causes so much stress. Again, that conversation of the kids, you're never home, you don't love me, and I do this for you, how can you not appreciate it? Well, that priority is so misaligned, that is going to be chronic stress always, until that changes, right? Really, yeah. Okay. Boundary decisions. This is, we've looked at our priorities. We see where things are misaligned. We see where people are misinterpreting our true priorities. And you need to decide, what am I no longer available for? Like maybe I'm no longer available for doing, if you're part of the PTA, and maybe I've never been on a PTA before, but maybe maybe you just don't have time for it. You love your kids, of course, but maybe you don't have time for the PTA. Maybe you're so busy at work that you want to take that, let's say, an hour a day, an hour a week, that you would go to these meetings and do whatever has to be done for the PTA. And you're actually just going to spend quality time with your kids, because if you're on the PTA for the kids, maybe your time is better with those kids. So maybe you decide, I no longer have time for that. Maybe it's the coworker that you do extra for them because you feel bad saying no, and they just need to do their own work because you're busy enough already. Maybe it's the kids that don't help out. Maybe they need to do more chores. Somebody else has to wash the dishes. You've worked all day. You don't need to cook and clean. You can delegate, and someone else can wash the dishes. Maybe someone else can learn how to cook, whatever it might be. But those things, what are you no longer available for? Where can you reclaim some time, some energy, and actually start setting your true priorities in your schedule, taking those actions that show that that person, place, thing is a top priority of yours, right? So, what's that one positive line you can draw starting today? What's that one change starting today? And this is another big one. I'm just going to throw it out there, guys, because it's amazing every time. Quality time. Maybe you have one evening a week with the family, no devices. Because when you're sitting there, I always do this. I didn't have my phone very handy, but when you're in the middle of something and you're having a conversation, and then that's really irritating. As soon as that phone comes up, it's like you're cutting the connection. You instantly feel disconnected. You feel like icky. You're just like, it's not a good feeling. So even though, but I have to check my email, but I have to this, I need to reply, I'm waiting for a response. If you are doing quality time, focused attention, guys, if you are spending quality time with someone, then they get your full attention. And when you bring that phone out, working, if you're working, you're not spending time with them, right? These tiny little actions, these little micro actions. So it could be something small like that, designated time without devices. So you actually spend quality time bonding. Where can you put in your schedule your actual priorities in your schedule? Where can you remove a leak? I'm no longer going to bake cookies on the weekends for the neighbor. I have no idea, right? But you look at your leaks, things that you don't need to be giving time or energy to, and where can you get rid of that? The brain dumping. Maybe you just commit one line. When I feel too much going on, I commit to brain dumping and closing those loops by organizing and using my 4Ds. That's simple enough, right? That's a boundary, that's a decision, that's a line in the sand. I will not spend all day with monkey hamster brain. I commit to brain dumping and having a mental reset every day. One simple little thing, right? And then that in itself, like, what would improve your relationship immediately? What is one thing you can do? And for me personally, even the brain dumping, that mental reset does improve. It did improve my relationship because I had the mental capacity. When the boyfriend, when you're doing this and you have all that chaos and the hamster, and my boyfriend would come up and be like, "What do you want for dinner?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God, like stop." Like I didn't have the capacity for anything, and especially another decision. And I would like snap on him and I don't freaking know. You decide. Why are you asking me? Why do I have to cook dinner? Like I would lose my mind on him. So having that mental reset, that brain dump, working through it all allowed me the capacity that when he came in and asked me what's for dinner, I'd be like, I don't know. Got any suggestions? Right there. Relationship is improving because there's not a fight where I would have caused one. Right? So it's amazing how these little things can all shift and improve like everything in our lives. Right? Okay, guys. I know today this was a lot, but I think this is so important because when we move further, obviously, all of us are growing. We all, again, we're ambitious. We have these goals, we have places we want to go. So we're not getting any more, not busy. Like there's these things. And the more we grow, the more we expand our businesses, the more we achieve and like climb the ladders, whether it's the corporate ladders, the entrepreneurial ladders, all of these things, if we don't have our priorities in place now and have those actions reflecting them and start re-strengthening those bonds at home and showing the people who are a priority that they don't have to guess it, they know, the easier that climb and the work and business expansion is going to be, because we don't have to constantly have this nattering side stress of like, oh my God, my home life is falling apart, and hiding in our work, making everything worse. Right? So this is a lot. This is a big one. This in itself is a bit of an exhausting day, just in the sense of like deep diving into like, what are my true priorities? Where do I put all of my attention? And really, if you are the person who right now you don't prioritize your actual priorities, this is a bit of a punch in the gut and like a huge aha. We're like, oh shit. And just for right now, though, keep it simple. What is one positive thing you can do to improve that? For me, I will let you in. My very first boundary I set was I would not work past 7:30 at night, because as a massage therapist, I would work till 7 or 7:30, but usually close to 7. And then there's all the cleanup from the room. There's like 2, 3 loads of laundry to do. I have all my, yes, massage therapist chart. We track everything. We're just like nurses in the sense we chart it all, we track it all. We want to know everything going on in your life because it all affects your body physically, which is affect how we do our job to help you. So I have to do all my charting, my invoicing, plug it all. There's a lot of paperwork to do. And yeah, there's a lot in the background as a massage therapist. But I had decided I pretty much never saw my boyfriend Monday through Friday, because I would literally work and then like shove food in my face as I was charting and then go to bed. So I would literally work all, I was a workaholic, like just about the definition of a workaholic. And I almost never saw my boyfriend ever, even though we lived together, slept in the same bed in the same room, barely saw him. So I committed to not working at all past 7:30. Phone was somewhere else in another room. Charts, if I wasn't done, they'll get done tomorrow. Didn't care. Not working past 7:30. Period. And that was a hard line I could not cross. So whether we actually, for the first little while, we would just, he would have a glass of wine waiting, and 7:30, 8 o'clock, just a half an hour, but every single evening I had minimum that half an hour. We'd put on a little sitcom, we'd have our glass of wine, and we just be together, whether we had a conversation, Whether we sat silently and decompressed together, we were together. And we snuggle and sip our wine, and it was really, really good. And every day I felt our relationship getting better and better, just because we were actually like getting closer, like obviously being physically close because I didn't have paperwork surrounding me, and having those um, really intimate moments of, even, I don't know, there's something very powerful about like snuggling with your partner and even just being silent, but like being close. And it was only a half an hour a day, and it made the biggest difference. It was like a huge catalyst to make everything better and really have me rethinking and revamping a lot of things. Did I lose business? No. Did I lose money? No. Did everything work out perfectly fine? And I started creating more boundaries after that because my life just kept getting better. Yes. It was amazing. So it can be super simple, super small, doesn't have to be like overhauling our life, but you're going to tonight prioritize your number one priority. So if you are single, you don't have a family or anything, I am going to say your number one priority is probably you being your best you, your healthiest you, your most recharged you, so you can give the world your best. So maybe you prioritize, maybe you have a bubble bath with a glass of wine, or maybe you watch your favorite movie with, your favorite pajamas on or whatever. But whatever it is, to show that number one priority of yours in your life, show them love, give them quality you, quality time. I recommended, like my one client, no devices for the evening. She said it was literally the best evening. She was a single mom. She said she'd never felt closer to her kids. She had the most random, useless, and pointless conversations with her daughter, and she said it was amazing. And she was actually falling asleep on the couch by like 9 o'clock, which she also found amazing because then she just went to bed and actually had the first proper sleep she'd had in a very long time. And it really is amazing. And then on top of that, remove one leak. Just like testing the waters, if you can remove one for 24 to 48 hours, see the difference, get that proof. Sometimes a lot of us logical people need the proof, and really see the difference it can make and show yourself. And then hopefully that can become permanent. All right. As always, guys, questions, rewatch this as much as you need. Put the questions in the comments. And yeah, have fun with this, especially your prioritization tonight. It almost like every time, literally every time when my clients do this, they come back the next day and they're like, best night ever. So it really works. It's really important. It really provides that huge shift of what this is, what my life can be like. Oh, God, yes, this is what I've been missing. Yes. Yeah. So, all right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.